Alright, Lone Wolf and Comics here. I am sharing an updated video that I had from previously. I removed because I had found out some more information about this book. I had picked this book up online probably not even a week ago, and the only note that the seller had on it was signed by Otto Binder. And I absolutely shit just for the simple fact that this book was online. This book is absolutely impossible to come across. It's not particularly valuable in any way. If you do come across it, although if you do come across it, it can fetch anywhere from $1,000 if not up, especially in great condition. But books like this, and so obviously this is probably about just the book itself and the condition is $100-$200 book, and that's just to show you how these books, by the Heritage Auction, has these books captioned as harder to find than an honest politician. And that quote in itself just absolutely tickled me pink and just made the desirability to want to own one of these issues. And I actually do. This is now the second issue I've owned. The other one is probably equally as bad grade. It's by about a 0.5, just the same, or a 1.0. I mean, their books are complete. It's just the front and back covers you can see are separated. This one here has been taped, but onto the updated information on this book. So this book was just identified as owned by a legendary comic book writer, Otto Binder, which, if you don't know who he is, I'd be surprised you're even viewing this channel to begin with. But he is a golden age comic book writer that spans his career from the 40s all the way through to the 70s, and just has pretty much adapted the whole concept of, I guess, supporting heroes like Mary Marvel, Bizarro World, a lot of the stories that incorporated in the Superman mythos and stuff, and along with Captain Marvel and other characters, just have so much contribution from Otto. But back to this book. So upon learning via some members in one of my Golden Age books, now of course none of this is absolutely certified, verifiable, but upon doing the research, and it absolutely correlates with many of his other books from his collection. But so when Otto Binder was he first jumped in the game in the early 40s, he had a job with Fawcett, and he was writing, one of his first big jobs was writing for Captain Marvel Adventures. And this is one of the books that of course he wrote for. And he probably wrote over 900 plus stories, between all the different genres of comic companies. So he's an absolute beast in the industry. It's absolutely underrated and undercredited too. But so basically, I have learned that this book has come from his personal collection. When this book came out, which would have been January 1952, he of course wrote the story. C.C. Beck drew the cover and the art, and basically the Fawcett would send writers and artists and stuff copies of these issues in order to keep track of their work. And this is one of the books that was sent to Otto Binder in order to keep track of his work. Let's see if I can slide this just a hair. And obviously it's in rough condition. Let's see if I can do this safely. All right. And of course there are multiple identification marks. We got issue 128, number 128 here. Obviously a little redundant, but who knows, with the quirky natures of comic creators and writers and artists, and who knows, maybe it's just another provenance to help identify this along with other books. But this was what was identified in a blurry photograph, along with a blurry photo with the book itself. So I took a real gamble on this book, and boy did it pay off. But as you can see here, when Otto Binder would receive these books, the ink that you see above on top, it was identified as OOB book, Otto Oscar Binder. And he would have wrote this upon receiving this book and cataloging it in his collection. And from there, he would maintain his books and keep track of his work. And then later on in the 70s, there's a renowned collector, Jerry Bales, who I guess became an admirer of Otto Binder, and from there really encouraged him to really, you know, put his work out there and, you know, let it, you know, become, and let it get into the hands of the collectors and to help preserve it. And from there, Otto Binder gave Jerry Bales a multitude of his collections over the years in the 70s, and upon each issue that he would give to Bales to then sell off, he would autograph it, Otto Oscar Binder, and then he would put an appropriate date for when he dated the book. And this is a trend that stretches amongst other books, and I've even been told if I could do enough research, I might even find a photograph with this book among the collection of other books. But it's just an absolute piece of history. You know, I've never seen any of these honestly in person, you know, let alone really books signed by creators. They're quick to enter collections and very slow to leave collections. But and then of course, upon inspecting this book further and just kind of making sure I did not miss anything, I discovered in a lot of these Captain Marvel Adventures books, Otto Binder wrote text stories. And in one of these text stories, let's see if I can bear with me. Try to do this as safely as possible and without damaging the book in any way. All right, here we go. So he would do these text stories as under the pseudonym John Jarl Adventure by Otto Binder, which I believe is a play on words between him and his brother, who co-wrote these stories. But there's a number 63 identification mark here on this story, and this I have not actually become educated on what this would actually identify, whether it's his 63rd text story that he has produced for Fawcett, whether there's just no telling. So if any of you actually by chance have any insight in regards to this, leave a comment below. That would be absolutely amazing. But yeah, so this would have been one of his personal books that came from his collection. A lot of times too, upon doing research, I can absolutely find very minimal in regards to books that have come through his collection. You know, just photographs basically like mine that would show the signature on the front with the date. And then, but I've seen some books on the back cover, even through Heritage, some books are on there. But a lot of times they would have had like to where basically the post office would have just taped a piece of paper right on the back cover with Otto's address, and they'd just throw it in the mail and send it right to him. So upon research, I've seen one book that in particular that had this still attached, you know, his actual home address from when they mailed it to him. And I'm assuming that this was something similar. Maybe that's probably what would have possibly been there. They would have taped his address right to the front, and maybe at some point somebody removed it. But this cover it's been completely separated, same as my other book, which is really bizarre why they're like that. And obviously somebody's retaped it over the years. But otherwise, this book is complete in every way, and it's just an absolute gem. And I am just over the moon in the fact that I own it. But yeah, so if anyone has any more information or insight, or maybe could correct where I have made errors in my assessment with a lot of details in regards to this book. But yeah, either way, I just wanted to share this with y'all. These are just something you just don't see every day. And hey, have a good day. Lone Wolf and Comics out.